Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga. Welcome. This is Soft Flow Yoga. It's a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. Thank you so much for being here. So for our practice today, I thought we'd do what I'm calling variations of Pigeon Pose. This is a great posture. If you have tight hips or even a tight hip flexor, inner thighs, this is a wonderful pose. And we're doing variations of the posture because we're going to be doing different ways you can do the pose, but also how you can use props for this posture. Alrighty, and here are our props. So of course we like to have a soft blanket or a rolled up towel or a folded towel, something soft that you can sit on or kneel on. You want something like that. And then, of course, a couple of yoga blocks or a couple of hardbound books, something like that, that will help us for our bridge pose that we like to do in our practice. And as I mentioned, you'll need some kind of big pillow or cushion. This is my yoga bolster. If you've got one of these, great, pull that out. It's nice and firm, it's the right size. You might want to grab maybe just a couple of big pillows, even a cushion from your sofa. But there's also ways you can do this pose and the variations of the posture without a big pillow. But I'll show you how you can use a big cushion like this for our pigeon pose variation. So that's our props for today. We like to start in a seated position. So go ahead and join me here. I like to cross my legs. I'm sitting in half lotus. This is comfortable for me. Now, if this is not comfortable for you, you don't have to sit like this. You might just want to cross your legs, maybe just here at your ankles. This is simply called easy pose. But even if this is uncomfortable, feel free to extend your legs or one leg, even sit in a chair or sit up against a wall to provide some support if you need that for your practice. As you find your comfortable seat, you might start with a few deep breaths. Deep cleansing breaths. Just to tune in and connect, fully arrive for your practice today. Good. Just feel how your body is relaxing and settling in. Check in with your shoulders. Be sure they're relaxed. Your arms feel relaxed and your hands can just rest easily in your lap. And as you're tuning in, focus on your breath. Be aware of your breathing. Just slow, steady breaths. So that you can really pay attention and focus inward, feel free to close your eyes. You can also just keep your eyes open, but just take a soft gaze forward or downward if you keep your eyes open for your practice. As you're able, bring more energy to your breath by breathing slower. And to help with that, take a nice full inhale. Imagine or actually feel your breath rising upward, filling up your lungs. Followed by a slow and controlled exhale. And as you're able, you're drawing your belly inward. Not too forcefully, not too strongly. Just a light engagement, pulling in. Again, as you inhale, just feel the lifting and lengthening of your spine, sitting up nice and tall, and of course that nice expansion in the lungs as you fill them up with air. Then with the exhale, again drawing your navel inward towards your spine. It's a light contraction of your abdominal muscles. In yoga, we call that the abdominal lock. It really helps us with support of the body, movement of the body. Be sure you can hear your breath and certainly feel your breath as it circulates through your entire body. With this full awareness now, take 3 slow, full and complete breaths. And when you're ready, inhale and extend your arms out and up. Just reach into the sky, big stretch. Then exhale, extend your arms out and back down. Just moving with the pace of the breath. Let's do that again. So an inhale, extend your arms out, good reaching, stretching effort, all the way up to complete the in-breath. Then exhale, reaching out with effort, like you're going to touch the walls on either side of you, and let your arms come back down by your side. Now go ahead and continue this on your own, breathing and moving at your own pace. Feel the energy in your arms as you reach up, and again as you reach out, and then back down by your side. If you happen to be moving in slow motion, pay attention to what this feels like. Notice your shoulders, the energy and strength in your arms. Notice the lengthening through the sides of your body as you reach up into the air. Continue to feel that lengthening in the spine. And of course, when you exhale, arms just float back down, but continue to draw your navel inward towards spine, creating that nice connection. Finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. When you're complete, just let your arms relax. Everything coming back to neutral. Be aware of your breath. Still in a seated position, if you're able and have room behind you, go ahead and bring your hands behind you, maybe just propped up onto your fingertips like so, and allow your shoulders to draw back. Feel the heart kind of move forward, just a nice opening up through the chest. And then tip your chin up just a little bit, not too much. Now we're creating what I'm calling a mild seated back bend, a nice heart opener. Now as you inhale, just press your fingers into the ground, bringing energy into your arms. Also feel breath rising to fill up your lungs. Nice expansiveness. You might even feel a stretch quality across the chest from shoulder to shoulder. When you exhale, just draw belly in. Again, inhale, press into the ground, creating energy. Expand the lungs. Exhale, draw belly in. And an added sensation as you're able, squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. So a lot of muscle engagement. You might feel this in your arms, your upper back, and of course your low belly because you're engaging the abdominal muscles. All right, just 2 more breaths here. Feel the engagement. Lots of effort right here. And then we'll complete it by lowering the chin, relaxing, walk your hands towards yourself, sit up nice and tall, and notice that shift from that very engaged body as it transitions to a now relaxed body. Take a moment here. So that was our back bend. Let's take a forward fold. So if your legs happen to be crossed here, let's uncross the legs. And we're going to reposition them so that the soles of the feet touch right here, creating a hip openness. This is actually getting us ready for our pigeon pose variations that we're doing for our practice today. If you have a couple of books or blocks, you're welcome to use them as just resting spots for the legs here as they open up, because the legs may not reach the floor, nor do they have to touch the floor. Let them relax here on your pillows, books, or blocks, whatever you happen to have there. Maybe just hold on to your ankles or shins. You're going to inhale and just sit up nice and tall. Keep the spine lifting upward. Exhale, draw belly in. That's our engagement for support as we hinge forward just a tiny bit. Feel that you're leading with your heart or your chin so your spine stays straight for the first portion of this. Do that again. We're going to inhale, feel more length through the spine, growing tall. Exhale, draw belly in, hinge forward a tiny bit. So we're not moving too quickly, and we're not going too far into this forward fold. Just want to get to a place where you can start to feel an engagement or stretch-like sensation in the inner legs, and that might not be very far. Now you can start to change this a little bit. Now the back might be straight, but it's okay to round your spine. You can lower your chin a little bit, let your back round, which may create a little bit more space so you can fold a little bit deeper without compromising the position, because you don't want to feel like you're forcing or pushing yourself into the pose. We want to be able to hold here so that the body can really reap the benefits of the release and openings. When we do hip openers, we can think of them as, especially in this practice that we're doing today, as some kind of unbinding. You know, if things feel bound up in your body, using postures like this, especially within the hips, that because things do feel quite bound up or tight, we're allowing in these holding positions a nice release, a letting go, an unbinding. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And to rise back up, you might lift your chin first just to help re-extend your spine. Even place your hands on the mat to help press yourself up until you're nice and tall in your seat. And again, we'll pause. Take a breath. Very good. If you are using some props, let's set those to the side. We're going to carefully manipulate the body so that we're on our hands and knees. So take your time to make your way to your hands and knees. This is where you might want to use something soft to kneel on, like so. Hands and knees like this. In this tabletop position, ready for cat and cow. So we're going to inhale and tip the chin up just a little bit like you're looking forward. The heart opens, and let the back arch like this, like you're doing a back bend. The pelvis tips back in order for you to do that. When you exhale, tuck the pelvis under. Belly button pulls up towards spine. The back will round, chin to chest. Let's do that again. Inhale, feel the pelvis tip back. The belly will drop, back will arch. Heart opens, lifted chin. This is cow pose. Exhale, round it all out. And that's cat. And just continue to go through these 2 poses. It's a nice fluid sensation through the spine, helps open up the lower back and hips. I'm going pretty slowly here. Just go at your own pace. This wonderful undulation through the spine, moving with breath. Now go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. When you're complete, just come to a neutral tabletop position and just hold here. And we'll get ready for our next pose. Now if you are using something soft to kneel on, let's go ahead and come off that pad and set it to the side. And return to your mat on your hands and knees, and we'll get set for downward facing dog. So from here, step your hands forward a little bit, and as you do so, spread out your fingers pretty wide. So your fingers, or at least in between each finger, you get a stretch. And kind of lean or press into the floor with the hands to open up your palms. The stretch opens the hands, and then your arms are straight and strong. Feel that energy. Now tuck your toes under, like so. Let's do another set of cat and cow. So it starts with cow, that's the inhale, creating the back bend. Exhale, round it out. Hold cat pose, belly button pulling up towards spine, and using that energy to lift your knees off the mat, send your hips into the air, adjusting yourself by moving the feet in the proper place so you feel pretty secure in this inverted posture. Your hips are nice and high, a good bend in the knees. Continue to press firmly into the ground with your hands. Strong, straight arms. Shake your head. Just want to make sure your head and neck feel loose right here. This is downward facing dog. Now start to tiptoe or step forward enough until your feet are flat on the mat. For me, it's just to the center of the mat like so. And you can just slide your fingers toward your toes. You'll be in forward fold. We're going to rise up halfway, so slide your hands up to your shins or knees. That's an inhale. We're going to hold here on the exhale, where we've created this tabletop position, a nice long flat back. This is just half forward fold. Hold for a breath or 2. Be sure you've got a good bend in the knees, so you're protecting your back. And now shifting your weight into your heels a bit. Bend your knees. Feel like you're going to sit down into an even lower chair. Lift your heart, take your arms out to the side, then push your heels into the floor, helping you to straighten the legs. You'll start to grow tall. Go ahead and finish this by taking your arms up into the air, a nice stretch. Exhale, bring your arms down to your side, completing that series. Very nice. So this is mountain pose, and just take a moment if you'd like to circle the shoulders. Just check in with the whole body, head to foot. Maybe check in with your neck here. I like just to go down the body, elbows, especially the wrists, because we do a lot of force flexing, on our hands. Even check in with your hips if you need to, knees, feet, and ankles. Very good. All right, let's do a half salute to the sun. So we're going to fold forward and come right back up. All right, taking our time. Here we go. Inhale, take the arms all the way up. Get that nice lengthening through the sides of the body and through the arms. Exhale, spread your wings. Sit back into the imaginary chair. Of course, you're bending your knees, guiding your way down. Now, you might touch your toes, but maybe your hands land at your shins, and that's perfect. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs a bit to extend the spine, rising up only halfway. Hold on the exhale. Take a breath or two. A little weight shift into the heels, bend your knees, lifting the torso, spread your wings, and then float all the way back up to standing, reaching high into the sky. Exhale, arms return to your side. Wonderful. All righty, good job. All right, let's move into our variation of Warrior One. It's a lunge, but we like to kind of break it down a little bit. Let me adjust my mat, and then we'll get set up. So we start this pose in mountain pose, just standing near the top of your mat. Again, just a variation of Warrior One. I like to start by bending the knees, put a little softness in the knees, keep that slight bend, and then start shifting your weight into your right foot. Right foot roots into the floor very strongly. Feel the energy of that leg. Be sure you're standing up nice and tall. It's an inhale to feel that lengthening. Exhale, draw belly in. A little lean forward, just a little bit into the front foot. But we're going to pick up the left foot and just start tapping it back until it just stops where you can't go anymore. So we're kind of like this. Your heel is lifted, toes are flexed, like that. Now we need to find our center. You're going to turn that back foot so you can easily plant the heel, shift so you're just centered right here. And you can see that it is a lunge, but it's not very wide. There's not much distance between the feet. Place your hands on your hips. You're going to push your pelvis downward as you feel your spine and torso lift up, creating space in the belt line. That should allow you to turn so you can face mostly forward. Now that we're here, inhale, reach both arms up into the sky. Big stretch. Exhale, bend your elbows just to 90 degrees. So this is our variation of Warrior One. I like to start here for our lunges, just to kind of warm up the body, giving it a little bit of a preview of what's to come next. All right, let's go ahead and inhale, take the arms all the way back up, nice and straight. Exhale, arms back down by your side, and bring your hands to your hips, like so. Start to lean forward, shifting weight into this front foot so we can easily release that back foot, step forward, feet together, and then we'll take both arms up into the air with an inhale, which is a wonderful way to realign the body, and then finish with an exhale, arms to your side. Let's get ready for the other side. Softness in the knees, shifting weight into left foot, pressure into the floor with the foot, energizing through the leg. Feel tall and lifted through the spine. That's a nice inhale to help with that. Exhale, draw belly in to secure. Lean forward a little bit so we can pick up this right foot, tap it back until it just stops. It won't go back very far. Heel lifted, toes flexed. Turn that whole leg, plant the foot into the floor, shifting back until you're balanced on 2 feet. Hands on hips, pushing pelvis down, feeling the lengthened torso, making space so you can face forward. Then your inhale, taking both arms up into the sky. Exhale, bending elbows to 90 degrees. Holding for a couple breaths. Feel balanced here, grounded and connected. Let's continue. Inhale, shooting the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, arms return to your side. Bring hands to hips. We'll lean forward, again putting weight into this front foot so you can pick up that back foot. Step together. Inhale, taking both arms up into the sky. Another nice stretch. There it is. Exhale, arms return to your side. Feel free to shake this out. Any kind of movement you like to do is always welcomed. All right, let's get into our sun salutation. We will be doing another version of Warrior One. We're getting things set up for our hip openers. We've already done one, but we're going to add on. Follow me. Inhale, extend the arms straight up into the air. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, feel like you're sitting back into that imaginary chair. Slowly fold, maybe your belly will touch your thighs. Hands might land at your shins, maybe your ankles or toes. Inhale, slide your hands up the legs a bit. We're only rising up halfway for our half forward fold. Now on this exhale, just slide back down the legs, bend your knees more, your back will round, getting low enough so you can place your hands on the mat and start walking both feet back. Take as many steps as you need to the back end of your mat until you can draw a straight line like this. This is plank pose, a high push-up position. Very strong, good energy in the body. Now, bend your knees a little. You're going to send your hips up into the air. And it's our return to downward facing dog. Like the first time we were here, you might need to adjust your feet. I just tiptoe forward a little bit. And I like to take my hands out a little wider. It just feels better on my shoulders. Bend your knees more. Send your hips up higher. Nice grounding sensation with the hands in the mat. Don't forget to shake the head so it's loose. Downward facing dog. Now we're getting ready for our first, or the Warrior One second variation. Here we go. Inhale, pick up the right foot and extend the right leg back behind you. I'm not concerned about how high it goes. See if you can get it as straight as can be and just reach through your toes. Now we'll bend that right knee. Bring that right knee in underneath you towards your chest. Your whole upper body shifts forward until your shoulders are aligned over the wrist, and then just set the right foot down, just be your toes. Set it down, and set the left knee down. This is a variation of getting that foot to the top of the mat, just in case you aren't able to get the foot up to the top of the mat. So I'm literally picking up my right foot and placing it up closer to my right hand. Then I'll relift that left knee, pivot or turn that left heel to the floor. So it's that same setup we did in our first variation, but now we've got more distance between the feet. A little more things to adjust. Let's rise up to fingertips so you can start to extend the spine. You want to try to get a nice long flat back. Root into the floor with this front foot because you're using it as leverage to help lift yourself up, whole upper body until you're facing forward. With an inhale, take both arms up into the air. Exhale, just lunge a little bit deeper, and here's our second variation of Warrior One. This is also a nice warm-up for Pigeon Pose that we're doing later because it gets into this hip flexor, kind of the front portion of the leg, high up on the thigh, right at the belt line in the low belly. Let's go into our second warrior. We're going to inhale first. Exhale, turn your torso towards your left side of the room as your arms come down to parallel. Let's just check in with this right knee. Just be sure your right knee and your toes are still pointing directly forward because sometimes it likes to dip inward once we open up into Warrior Two. I like to adjust my back foot. It just helps protect my knee. Side angle is reach out over the right leg like this to angle the upper half of the body and rotate the arms. Now you don't have to go down too low unless you'd like to, but for soft flow, maybe you want to take it up a little higher. Okay, again, not stressing the body, but still getting the great benefit from each pose. You don't have to go, all the way into them to feel the benefit. A couple of breaths here. This too is also getting us ready for our Pigeon Pose. Now I like to come back up to a Warrior Two and relax the arms right there. And then turn forward. Start to fold forward, hands out front, and catch the ground with my hands. Rise up onto tiptoes here behind that left foot. So I call this a runner's lunge. Push firmly into the ground with the hands. And pull or slide that right foot back until you're in plank pose again. Let's get ready for the other side. So we're going right into downward facing dog. Bend your knees, send your hips into the air. Make those adjustments as you need to with your feet, your hands. Ensure that your knees are bent well enough so it's easy for you to lift your hips. Press firmly into the mat with the hands. Feel how straight and strong your arms are. But be sure your neck feels loose. Here comes the other leg. We're going to inhale, pick up the left foot, extend the left leg straight back behind you. Again, it doesn't have to lift high.
With the exhale, bend the left knee. Bring it in underneath you, shifting the weight forward. Shoulders will align over the wrists. Set that left foot down. Wherever it lands, that's fine. Set the right knee down. Maybe you can get the foot next to the hand. If you're there, just wait for me. I'm just going to pick up the left foot, place it up here where I want to, and I'll join you, lifting that right knee now. Pivot right heel to the floor. Now, if you can see me, my back is really rounded, and I'm really weighted forward. So I step the hands back, getting more weight in that back foot, and rise up to fingertips so I can lift and easily extend the torso. I'm pushing into the ground with the left foot, strengthening this leg, giving me leverage so I can rise straight up, so I'm facing forward. Here come the arms. Inhale, rising up into the sky. Exhale, lunging a tiny bit deeper, settling into the posture. I'm really feeling this in that right hip flexor. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Another breath. Here we go. Inhale. In the exhale, turning your torso now towards the right side of the room as your arms come down to parallel. It's Warrior Two. Settling in, checking in with alignment, left knee and toes pointing forward. Any adjustment with that back foot as you need to. Here comes side angle, reaching out. An angled upper body, rotating the arms. If you're like me, maybe this left hand can easily rest on this left thigh. That's perfect. You might be a little lower where your forearm like this is resting on the thigh. I'm staying up pretty high. I can still feel this. This is still very beneficial to the legs and the hips. Providing strength and energy, a lot of endurance strength when you're holding postures like this. Okay, I'm going to come back up to a Warrior Two. You can follow me. Bring the arms down. It's just easy for me to turn now and then easily fold without feeling bound up in the hips and back as I make this transition. So my hands are on the floor, rising up onto tiptoes behind me. This is my runner's lunge. Press into the ground with the hands so I have strong arms so I can pull this left foot back. Plank pose. Let's hold here. And then gently set the knees onto the floor. Sit back briefly in what's called hero pose. So you're getting off the hands, but immediately sit off to the side so you can swing the legs around to the front, and then sit in the center of your mat. Grab your books or blocks. We're going to need those. And once they're in place, go ahead and roll down onto your back. Once you're on your back, you can go ahead and hug your knees into chest. In some light movement here. This is a wonderful opportunity to maybe massage your low back and hips a little bit. And because the feet are free, maybe circle the ankles. We're going to do several things on the floor here. Let's start with our bridge pose. So let's plant the feet into the ground. Grab your blocks. Inhale to fill up your lungs. Exhale, engage your belly, lifting the hips so you can slide your books or blocks underneath you to sit on, just like that. So it is pretty relaxed. That's why I call this a supported bridge pose, because we're taking some of the engagement of the body out of the equation here. It's a little bit more restful. The only really engaging I think that's happening here is being sure that the legs don't feel like they're going to fall outward. If anything, you want to feel like they're hugging inward, like you're holding on to, let's say, a big beach ball between the knees or a set of blocks. Okay, just holding on to them. That's probably the only, big energy movement that's being generated in this pose. Otherwise, just kind of relaxed here. Let's take 3 more breaths. It's a nice way to open up the front side of the body in a gentle way. Alrighty, when you're ready, just press feet into the ground so you can lift your hips and remove your blocks out from underneath you and just set them to the side. Come back down to the ground. Let's take a big stretch. You'll extend your legs straight out front. Arms reach back behind you. Actively reach in these 2 directions. It lengthens, it opens, it unbinds. That's kind of our key word for the day. And realigns. Alrighty. Bring your arms back down by your side, bend your knees. Here's our next pose. This is actually the variation of pigeon that we're doing right now. It's a hip opener. So we'll keep the right foot as it is with that right knee bent. We're picking up the left foot. We're going to cross this left ankle over the right thigh. Okay, and as best as you can, I want to see if we can get this this left knee to point mostly to the left side of the room. It's also kind of a sensation of sending, if you can see me, I'm actually pushing my leg forward, away from my chest. So I'm kind of, it kind of looks like the number 4. If I was going to lift this leg, it kind of looks like the number 4. Now this is the first part of the posture. If this feels fine for you as far as a hip opener, then stay like this. Otherwise, we're going to pick up the right foot and start drawing the legs toward your body. This is called Eye of the Needle pose. That's the official name of it. So this space between the legs is the eye of the needle. Your left hand becomes the thread. Go through the eye. And now go ahead and clasp your fingers over the shin or over the hamstrings, whatever you can easily reach. Now here you might start to feel sensation in your left hip. I feel this in the left leg there, even in the glutes, okay, or the gluteus maximus and medius, really. Okay, right in that section. Nice stretch. And we're going to hold here. So again, this is a nice variation of pigeon pose. Sometimes pigeon can be a little bit daunting. It might put pressure on some parts of the body that might not feel good. And so when I'm teaching other classes and we do move into pigeon, I offer this as a suggestion or alternative. This feels really good. Take some deep breaths. We're just allowing all that nice release to occur. 3 more breaths. After that 3rd breath, we're going to release, set that foot back down onto the floor, uncross the legs. Let's go ahead and do some more unbinding by extending the legs out front. Reach the arms behind you, reach and stretch in these opposite directions. Sometimes kind of that folding, bending sensation might bind up in the low back. So this is just a way to create or recreate space. And let's get set for the other side. So you can bring your arms back down by your side, bend your knees. Feet on the floor. Now we'll just keep the left foot as it is. We'll pick up the right foot, cross ankle over thigh. Same thing, we want that knee to point more towards the right side of the room, or even use your hand to just gently press the leg away from the chest. If this feels fine, stay here, or pick up the left foot. Let's take that thread, that's the right hand now, and right through the eye of the needle. Clasp or fold your fingers over the shin of that left leg, or your hamstrings of the left leg. What's nice about this posture is that if you draw the legs in closer, bringing the shin closer towards your chest, more sensation will certainly show up. Now you don't want to forcefully do that. Just kind of check in and notice what that feels like for you. If it feels like too much, and then if that feels like too much, then soften the pose. Move the legs away, or even bring that left foot back down to the floor. Wherever you are, be sure you're still breathing deeply. Even imagine you're sending breath into that outer right hip, the glute area, even the inner thigh. If you've got some sensation in the right inner leg, then send breath there as well. Okay, this is a nice warm up for our pigeon pose that we'll also do. We're just going to be using some props with that posture. And just as I mentioned, in my other classes, whenever we do a regular pigeon pose, and for some reason you'd rather do something else, come to this pose. So you're welcome to do this pose a second time as I'm demonstrating and going through pigeon pose. Let's go ahead and release. Foot to the floor, uncross the legs, and let's stretch it out. Alrighty, go ahead and hug the knees into chest. If you're able, you can rock your way up to seated or roll to one side and press yourself up to seated. Alrighty, let's just scoot back. Let's do another posture here
Another kind of a setup for pigeon pose. It's not really a variation of pigeon, but it's a nice setup for pigeon. Now I like to sit on a blanket for this, just for a little softness, like that. And first the legs are nice and straight. This is staff pose, so legs are straight. You want to make sure your spine is straight, and to assist that lengthening of the spine, maybe place your hands on your hips or by your hips on the floor and push to help lift straight up like this. And maybe a breath or two. So we're going to move into what's called head to knee pose, or Janu Shirshasana. That's the word in Sanskrit. Head to knee pose. Now we're not going to bring the head all the way down to the knee, but moving in that general direction. Let's keep the right leg straight. You're going to bend the left knee, but you're going to turn the knee out to the side. And so the left foot is just somewhere on the inside of the right leg. It can be down low, okay, if that feels better for the knee joint. Okay. Usually you'll see the foot at inner thigh. That does affect the knee. If that doesn't feel good on the knee, you can certainly slide that foot downward. Then I like to kind of prop myself up just to make sure my spine is nice and straight. It's an inhale. Exhale, leading with the heart and chin hinging forward out over this straight right leg. Again, you don't have to go very far, and we're not going to hold this too long. But let me tell you what's happening. Alrighty, we get a nice hamstring stretch. Alrighty, wonderful for the hamstring. There's a slight back stretch, but I would get more of that if I rounded the spine, and you're certainly welcome to do that. Okay? But then, of course, we have this left hip opener over here on this side, yeah? And just some deep breaths, maybe 3 more breaths. What I like about this posture is that it provides that nice hip opener, and there's a folding quality to this because pigeon pose is also a forward fold. I think one of the major differences between this pose and pigeon pose is that this front leg is going to end up behind us. You'll see in a moment. All right, let's rise back up, nice and tall here. Let's go ahead and lift this left knee, extend the leg, realign and balance the body, coming back to staff. Pressing hands into the floor, nice and tall through the torso for a breath or two. You can notice my feet are flexed. That just keeps the legs active. Alrighty, let's keep that left leg straight now. I'm going to bend the right knee, set it off to the side. Now if the knee doesn't touch the ground, of course it doesn't have to. You can always use a pillow or a book or a block right there. And if you have any issues with that right knee, remember you can slide this foot down the leg so it doesn't aggravate the knee. I'm using my hands propped into the floor to help me sit up nice and tall. That's an inhale. Exhale, hinging forward just a little bit, and that's where I can pause because that's where I'm starting to feel the stretch. I'm keeping the spine straight. My hands on the floor are helping me to keep the spine straight. But you're certainly welcome to lower the chin a little bit and round your spine if you want to include a little bit of a back stretch. Okay? And just a few breaths here. Janu Shirshasana. Janu is your knee. Shirsha is your head. So this is head to knee pose. And this, of course, is our variation. Let's take 2 more breaths. Then we'll rise back up. Nice and tall here. I'm going to lift this right knee, extend the leg, back to the staff pose for a moment. Let's go back to the bound angle pose or cobbler's pose. We did this earlier, so the soles of the feet together. The only thing we're going to do here, I'm going to face you for this. The only thing that we're going to really do here is maybe just hold on to the feet or ankles and just lightly bounce the legs. It might seem odd. It's like, why are we doing that? It's just a nice way to just keep mobility and openness in the hips, okay? Just a light bounce 5 or 6 times. Alrighty? Okay, let's come back to hands and knees. I'm actually going to move my blanket out of the way. Follow me and just come to hands and knees. We're going to get ready for pigeon pose. All right, we are going to be using some props in a moment. So hands and knees. Let's take 3 breaths, cat and cow. Repeating that. So we're going to inhale, lift head and heart, arching the back. There's our little back bend. Exhale, round it all out. And move and breathe at your own pace. Just returning to this nice undulation of the spine and the rocking of the pelvis.
There we are. Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to sit back a little bit. I'm going to use a blanket just for something soft, okay, underneath me. And like I said, I'm going to use that big pillow, my yoga bolster. So if you've got those props, go ahead and grab those and bring them in. And I'll show you how we're going to use them. Actually, I want my blanket out front, like this. Blanket's going to be in front of the cushion because we're going to put one leg out here, and this is going to protect the knee joint and the ankle, okay? And we're basically just going to be sitting on the cushions. Now you can also just use books or blocks, and I'll show you that in a second. So I'm on my hands and knees. I'm kind of leaning over to the left side so I can actually pick up my right foot, okay, and over my pillow, but I'm placing it over to the left side, okay? So I'm going to carefully, let's see if this works, I'm going forward, hands out front here, to bring the right knee down to the right side. Now, I can certainly adjust this angle because that feels like it's too much, but I'm basically over the bolster, okay? I've got the right knee bent, it's nicely padded with that blanket, and basically this is pigeon pose. Now the higher up I am like this is going to put a little pressure in the low back. Now one variation of pigeon that we're not doing today is actually a back bend where we're lifting up. We're going down. All right, so I'm going to bring in another block. We've got a pillow or a book. We're just coming down to the forearms perhaps. Now what that pillow does that I'm sitting on, it just kind of lifts you up, kind of makes, this becomes your ground or the ground. Okay, because if this wasn't here, you'd have a lot of space underneath you. The pillow there is just providing a little bit of support. Now, like I said, it could just be a couple of blocks. I'm just bringing my forehead to one of my blocks and just settling in. We're not going to be here too long, but what you may want to do is just kind of think about and feel where sensation is arising for you in a good way. The right leg is getting a lot of good work. That's where the hip opener is occurring. Inner leg, outer hip, glute area. And my left leg is extended back behind me. As I mentioned in the head to knee pose, which is a forward fold, this too is a forward fold. So that's the similarity. And then I mentioned that that front leg, though, is going to be behind us. And that's what's happening here. So the leg is behind us rather than out in front of us. Another thing that I'm doing, you probably can't see, but I'm kind of moving very slowly in a very subtle way just to help with some of this unbinding. Just by holding and being in the posture, your body is at work. It's doing what it needs to do, especially in these kind of gripping, constrictive areas of the body. We're using the nice support of these blankets and pillows, but I'm just nurturing this along by adding very subtle movements. Now remember, if this felt like it's, or if it does feel like it's too much for this right leg, the knee, or your ankle, there's always that variation of the eye of the needle pose. Sometimes we even call it reclining pigeon pose. All right, it's time to get out of this posture. So I'm carefully coming back up into my hands. Let's see if this works for us. I'm just leaning now over to my right side, leaning a whole lot. I'm just bringing this left leg around to the front. Now I'm actually just sitting on my pillow here. And you might be sitting on the pillow or the floor, probably more likely you're on the floor, and just extend the legs out front. And what you may want to do is just massage your knees a little bit. If that was a little bit too much for that right knee, okay, the leg that was out in front of us, then just give it a little love. All right, I'm just going to kind of spin around here and do the other side. So I'm just going to take my blanket over there, just like that. Now I'm just going to show quickly how you can do this with a couple of blocks, but I am going to use my pillow again, okay? So we're doing our left leg out front. So I'm going to lean over to the right, take my left foot forward, bring the left foot over to the right side, Bring the hands out front and carefully bring this left knee to the ground. Angle the leg as much as you need to. So this is what I meant by being quite high. Let me move my block so you can see this. So I'm not touching the floor at all. But what you may want to do is take your stack of books or blocks, place it underneath your left cheek, and that can be your support, just in case you don't have that big cushion underneath. I am going to use the cushion. And just kind of slide it underneath. It's nice because it kind of provides some support on both legs. That's if you happen to have a big pillow here. I'm going to inhale, some lengthening through the spine. I'm exhaling, taking my forward fold. Remember, come to the pose, kind of settle into it. If you need to or want to change this up, one, you can just not be here very long, come out of the posture and be complete, or roll over onto your back and do the eye of the needle pose variation. Again, if you're just holding here, rest your forehead on some books or blocks so your neck feels relaxed, your spine can relax. And I'm again just doing these subtle movements kind of in the hip area just to help it along. Now that's not necessary. You can just hold. You don't have to move at all. Only movement really is the breath. Noticing or even just imagining all this nice unbinding that's happening in the legs and hips. Very good. We're holding a little bit longer. This is one of those poses, especially if you've got some good props, you want to be able to hold for a good period of time so that that unbinding can really you can really take advantage of the opening and releasing, and then your body will tend to remember it. 3 more breaths. And then after the 3rd breath, I'm just lifting up, moving my props, coming up onto the hands. Because I've got this cushion, I can sit or lean way over to my left side and just kind of drag this right leg around, right up to the front here. I'm just going to face you and just come off the pillow. So just come off your props, bring the legs out front, come back to that cobbler's pose that we did, and maybe those little gentle bounces. There we go. Alrighty, so those are our variations of pigeon pose. Now we really did the actual pigeon pose. We're just using our props, and that's just a nice way to, get into the pose, hold the posture for a good period of time, just using those props. Alrighty, now make some space so you can lie back down onto your back. Have your blocks handy. Go ahead and hug your knees into chest. Another nice massage here for your back. Let's circle those feet. Deep breaths. We're going to do one more bridge pose just to open up the front body once again. We'll add a twist and then we'll finish. So let's go ahead and set the feet onto the floor. With an inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale, engage and lift the hips. Slide your books or blocks underneath you. Adjust the body. We'll just take a few moments, not very long, just to settle. Nice opening for the whole front side of the body again. Here's a variation. We've done this before. You can stay just like this with knees bent, feet on the floor, or you can extend the legs out in front of you, kind of creating this little hill with the body, and that creates a little bit more of that lengthening sensation in the upper thigh and the belt line and low belly. But if that feels like a bit of a strain on the back, you certainly don't need to do this. It's just another variation. How about 2 more breaths? After that second breath, we'll press the feet into the floor, lift the hips so you can remove your blocks. Once you've made it back down to the ground, extend the legs and the arms reaching behind you. Make that space, continue that unbinding. All right, let's do a twist here, which will also get into the hips a little bit. Now bend the knees, feet on the floor, but with this one, take the feet pretty wide so your feet are at the edges of your mat, so the legs are pretty wide here. Now I'm still going to be using a block. Just one block I think will work fine for this, maybe 2, and I'll show you. So I got a block in both hands. Now I'm going to take the knees and take them over to the left side slowly. Now the left leg over here, it might not touch the ground, so I can place a block underneath it. Now what's happening with the right leg, and this is the side we're really paying attention to, this right leg is creating an inward rotation, okay? And it might torque the knee a little bit, alrighty? Just notice if it feels like it's going too far, that's when you want to use a cushion, a pillow, a block underneath that right knee so it feels supported. This feels just right. Now, again, this is affecting perhaps that right side, your low back and hip, and you can even extend and get a little bit more of a stretch quality by extending the right arm behind you. Take some deep breath. We'll just do 3 breaths. Now, if the legs can go down towards the floor without the blocks, you can certainly do that if it doesn't affect your joints. Just a nice variation of a twist. All right, we're going to come back up to center, getting my blocks. Hold in this neutral position for a moment, so there's that realignment. And we'll do the other side. So knees and feet are still wide. We're slowly taking the knees over to the right side. Use those props as you need to. I might not need it on this side. Actually, I'm going to still use the block for my left leg here. If I can reach. Here we go. Now, because the left leg now is getting its inner rotation, it's affecting the left side. Do you notice that? Kind of the outer hip, low back, maybe up the side a little bit, and create a little bit more length by extending the left arm behind you. Deep breaths. And let's take 3 more. Alrighty, coming back to neutral, just moving my blocks out of the way. And even feel free to do another extension of the legs out front, arms behind you. It's just a nice way to realign, keep things opened. And now I think we're complete, so you can just bring your arms down to your side. Let your legs completely relax here. You'll notice that the legs kind of fall open. That's an outer rotation. Okay, that might be a little bit more natural feeling for the legs and hips. Settle in, let the back relax, your shoulders. If you need some padding underneath you, you might want to put a pillow underneath your head, a blanket underneath you for softness. Even feel free to elevate your legs or feet if you need to. Wherever you are, just want to feel pretty settled and relaxed. Feel free to keep your eyes opened. If they are open, just gaze softly upward to soften the eyes. Or you can just go ahead and close your eyes. Slow, steady breaths. You don't have to be too energetic in the breathing, but just certainly aware of the feeling and the sound of your breath.
As we're coming to the close of our practice, maybe this breathing effort will help you tap into how you're feeling throughout your entire body. Hopefully you experience some unbinding, some releasing of any constrictions or tightness in the body, with some specific focus on the hips, moving into some variations of our pigeon pose. Perhaps in this relaxed state of mind and body, you're thinking about and feeling a sense of release. Stay where you are. No need to move just yet. Just continue to focus on your breathing, allowing your body and mind to continue to relax. A reminder that you're welcome to stay here as long as you need to. Even as I end the practice, you can stay just like this. This very nurturing and relaxing pose. Once again, return to the awareness of your breath. Again, no need to move just yet. Now, perhaps with this awareness, let's take some deep breaths. 5 slow, deep, complete breaths. As you're breathing, you're generating a new energy throughout your body. Breathe into these newly opened spaces. Also, as you're breathing, feeling movement gradually return to your body. That might begin with just a simple wiggling of your fingers and your toes. Movement in your feet and hands. Just allow that movement to circulate up through your limbs, eventually through your torso, into your neck and head, filling yourself up. After those 5 full and complete breaths, slowly, very slowly and carefully, roll onto either side of your body, just moving into this nurturing pose where you might hold for a breath or two. And with a new breath, guide your way up to seated. Feel free to sit on something soft. And cross your legs here, sitting up nice and tall. Lengthen spine, arms relax down by your side, and your hands can just rest in your lap for a moment, or even bring hands to heart center. Take one more full breath in and out. And as we come to the close of this portion of our journey together, we bow, saying, Namaste. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.